Part 2. Months passed, and Celine settled into her new role as assistant to the director. The job came with challenges, long hours, and endless responsibilities, but it also came with respect. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this. Her name was now known throughout Noble Oil, not as the cleaner but as Ms. Adebayo. Her poise, sharp mind, and unrelenting work ethic turned heads. Even executives who once looked down on her now leaned in when she spoke. Derek kept his distance professionally. He never crossed boundaries, but his admiration was clear in the way he listened to her suggestions and how he protected her time, in the unspoken warmth that lingered between them. They still hadn't spoken about his confession. Celine hadn't said yes. She hadn't said no either. She was building something first, for herself, for her children. One afternoon, while organizing old corporate archives, Celine found a faded photo tucked inside a dusty file. Her father, young, beaming, holding a baby, her. On the back was a note, for my Celine. May the world know your name. Tears stung her eyes. She had always believed she was forgotten, but now she realized she had been remembered in ways that mattered. That night, she gathered Jaden and Elma around a table in their little flat. We're going to dream bigger now, she said. Mommy's saving up to start something of her own. The kids beamed. A business? Elma asked. Celine nodded. A center for women like me, abandoned, afraid but not defeated. A place to work, learn, and rise again. Word spread quickly about her plans. Mama, Ray donated equipment. Derek quietly offered seed funding, but Celine refused it for now. I need to do this my way, she told him. He smiled. Then I'll be in the front row when you launch. 6 months later, the Rise Foundation opened in a small renovated warehouse. The grand opening drew women from across Denton City. Celine stood tall in a simple white blouse and flowing skirt. Cameras flashed. The mayor shook her hand. But it was Jaden and Elma who cheered loudest. That's our mommy. As the crowd dispersed, Derek approached. Still standing on your own, I see, he said. Celine smiled. Yes, but I've learned something else. It's okay to lean, now and then, on someone who wants to lift you higher. She extended her hand. He took it gently. So, is this the start of something? He asked. Celine looked at the rising sun behind him. It already is. And so, Celine's story continued, not just as a woman who survived, but as one who soared and brought others with her. The Rise Foundation was nothing more than an old warehouse when Celine signed the lease, its rusted walls and cracked windows reflecting years of neglect. But to her, it was full of promise. With scraped-together savings, donated chairs from a church, and tables salvaged from the back of Ma Marie's store, she transformed the space into a vibrant hub. Bright curtains covered the windows, and motivational quotes lined the walls. The biggest banner read, "Every woman has the right to rise." On opening day, the courtyard overflowed with women, some with babies on their hips, others with scars in their eyes. "Welcome," Celine said into the mic, her voice trembling. "If you've ever been told you're too broken to dream, this place is for you." The applause that followed wasn't polite. It was raw, grateful, and full of hope. Classes began immediately. Basic literacy, small business training, sewing, baking, and computer skills. Celine taught some herself, but most were handled by volunteers, women who had once been helped by someone and now wanted to give back. Her days were long. Mornings at Noble Oil, afternoons at the foundation, evenings with her children. Jaden sometimes did homework on a classroom desk, while Celine led budgeting lessons. Elma helped stack chairs and make tea for visitors. One day, as she swept the hallway after a busy session, Mama Ray stopped by. "I'm proud of you, Celine," she said, handing her a bag of Puff Puffs. "Your fire didn't burn out. It lit a torch." Celine smiled, exhausted but glowing. "I just want no woman to sleep in a market stall again, if I can help it." Derek visited often, always quietly. He stayed in the back during workshops, watching without interfering. He brought stacks of unused office supplies, books, and even laptops for the tech classes, always labeled anonymous donor. But Celine knew. One evening, after the crowd had gone, he lingered by the front door, watching her lock up. "I miss seeing you at the office," he said. She glanced at him. "Promotion comes with less time," she replied. He gave a small chuckle, not complaining, just hoping you're not burning out. She leaned on the wall, wiping sweat from her forehead. "I've burned before. This is something else. This is purpose." Derek nodded, then reached into his jacket and handed her a small velvet box. No pressure, just a token of belief. Celine opened it. A silver bracelet engraved with, she rose. She didn't wear the bracelet right away. She kept it in a box on her bedside table, next to her father's letter. Some nights she would hold it and wonder, was she ready? To trust again? To love? But love was no longer a desperate thing in her heart. It was calm now, patient. One morning, she wore the bracelet. Derek noticed but said nothing. He just smiled a little wider. Word of the foundation spread beyond Denton City. Local radio interviewed her. A women's magazine ran her story, from abandoned to advocate. A government official visited and offered to connect her to grant opportunities. Still, Celine stayed grounded. "I'm not building a brand," she said. "I'm building a ladder for women to climb out of what tried to drown them." Trouble, however, wasn't far. One rainy afternoon, as Celine was teaching a budgeting class, a loud voice interrupted from the doorway. "So this is what you've become, parading yourself like a savior." It was Margaret, Raymond's mother. Her umbrella dripped water on the floor as she scanned the room with disdain. The women gasped. Some stood protectively beside Celine. "I came to warn you," Margaret hissed. "Raymond wants the children. He says you've poisoned them against him." Celine's heart froze. "He abandoned us," she said, her voice even. "He pushed Jaden to the ground." "You have no proof," Margaret snarled. "You're nobody. But now you're visible. That makes you a threat." With that, she turned and left, the storm swallowing her figure. Celine sat down slowly, her hands trembling. That night, Celine didn't sleep. Her past had returned like a shadow dragging chains. She sat by her children's bedside, watching them breathe peacefully. "They are mine," she whispered. "They are my joy." The next morning, she walked into Derek's office before he even had coffee. "He's threatening custody," she said flatly. Derek stood. "We'll fight it, and you won't be alone." For the first time, Celine didn't argue. She didn't question his offer. She simply nodded. A lawyer was hired. Documents were prepared. Mama Ray, market vendors, even Elma's teacher wrote statements defending Celine's care. At the hearing weeks later, Celine stood tall in a second-hand suit, holding her daughter's hand. Raymond arrived in a designer outfit, arm in arm with a young woman who refused to meet anyone's eyes. The courtroom buzzed with tension. Raymond claimed Celine was unstable, living in a slum, and exposing the children to strangers. But every lie was countered with truth. Photos of the foundation, medical reports showing Elma and Jaden were thriving, letters from school, even a short video, Jaden explaining how mommy makes everything feel safe. The judge's expression never changed, but Celine noticed a flicker when the bracelet on her wrist caught the light. "Your children remain with you," the verdict came. The father relinquished his rights the moment he walked away. Raymond stormed out, his mother trailing behind him. Fury in every step. Celine exhaled. A chapter had finally closed. Back at the foundation that evening, the women threw a surprise celebration. A hand-painted banner read, "Justice for Mama Celine." There was singing, dancing, and rice with goat meat. Derek arrived late, still in his office where, holding 2 plastic cups of Zobo. "To peace," he toasted, "and to a woman who never gave up." Celine laughed, lighter than she'd felt in years. As the music swelled, Elma tugged at her hand. "Mommy," she whispered. "You're a hero." Celine crouched and kissed her forehead. "No, baby. I'm just your mother. That's more than enough." Over the music, she turned to Derek. "You still standing there?" He stepped closer. "I'm still waiting, Celine. No rush. Just here." It took another 3 months, but one sunny afternoon, Celine invited Derek for dinner. She cooked a goosey soup with pounded yam. The kids grilled him with questions. "Do you know how to play Ludo? Can you fix our TV remote?" He answered everything with a smile. After the kids were asleep, they sat on the balcony again. "I've never had a love I didn't have to beg for," Celine said. Derek looked at her gently. "And you never will again." She reached for his hand. No more fear. No more running. Just a quiet promise, forged not by need, but by healing. By the next year, the Rise Foundation had grown into 3 locations. Celine was named Woman of the Year by a national magazine, but her proudest title remained Mama. Jaden scored top marks in school. Elma started a girls' club for her classmates. And Derek? He never stopped showing up. Some days as a partner, other days as a quiet cheerleader. One morning, as they stood outside the newest Rise Center, Celine looked at the building, then at Derek. "Can you believe this?" she whispered. He took her hand. "I always did." She smiled. Her story wasn't just one of survival anymore. It was legacy. The second Rise location opened in a coastal town outside Denton City. It had once been a rundown textile factory, but now sunlight poured through repaired glass panes, reflecting off polished floors and colorful murals painted by the women themselves. Celine stood at the entrance in a yellow dress that fluttered in the breeze. Behind her stood Mama Ray, Derek, her children, and dozens of women whose lives had shifted because of one act of kindness. "Every brick here," Celine said during her speech, "was laid with purpose. With every story of pain, we build pillars of strength. And I will not stop building." The applause echoed against the sea wind, fierce and proud. Back in the city, Noble Oil's board of directors approached Celine with an offer, an advisory role on their corporate social responsibility committee. "You understand impact," the chairman said, "and trust. We need that voice at the table." Celine accepted. Her name now appeared in business articles and nonprofit forums. But she never traded heels for pride. She still swept her office when it needed it. She still braided Elma's hair before school. And she still ate dinner on the floor with her children on Sundays, laughing at Jaden's silly stories. Fame hadn't changed her. Purpose had rooted her. One afternoon, as she packed care kits at the foundation, a young woman arrived at the gate, thin, bruised, and trembling. "They said you help people," the woman whispered. Celine stood, heart aching with recognition. She took the girl's hand. "Yes, I help women who were told they had no worth. But we build it back piece by piece." The girl broke into tears and Celine embraced her. Later that evening, as Celine cleaned out a spare cot, Elma asked, "Why do you help everyone, Mommy?" Celine paused. "Because someone helped me, and because one day you'll help someone too." Derek proposed on a quiet Saturday, not in a restaurant, not with flash. Just him, the children, and a simple ring on the foundation rooftop under the setting sun. "I don't want to rescue you, Celine," he said softly. "I just want to walk beside you, to be chosen by you." Celine blinked away tears. "You already are," she whispered. They didn't rush a wedding. There were still battles to fight, classes to teach, lives to rebuild. But love was no longer something Celine feared. It was something she chose, slowly, wisely, and completely. Raymond never returned. A year after the custody trial, Celine learned through a lawyer that he had fled the country, leaving behind debts and a messy scandal. Margaret, bitter and alone, never visited again. Celine didn't wish them harm, but she didn't carry their memory anymore. She had forgiven, not for them, but for herself. Carrying pain is like wearing shoes too small, she once told her students. It slows you down and hurts you with every step. Take them off. Walk free. At the annual Rise conference, Celine gave the keynote address in front of hundreds. Her speech wasn't rehearsed. She spoke from the wound and from the healing. I was thrown out in the rain with my children and nothing but faith. I begged. I cried. I broke. But I rose. Not because I had strength, but because I found people who believed I could borrow theirs until I found my own. The crowd stood, clapping, many in tears. Mama Ray beamed from the front row, clutching her purse like a proud mother. Jaden and Elma stood tall beside Derek, holding a sign. We love you, Mommy. That evening, as dusk fell over Denton City, Celine walked the quiet halls of the original Rise Center. Her footsteps echoed on the tiles she once scrubbed. She paused by the mirror in the hallway. The woman staring back wasn't the same one who had once been dragged into a storm with 2 crying children. This woman stood tall. Her eyes glowed with fire and softness. Her scarf was still simple. Her spirit was not. She touched the engraved bracelet on her wrist. She rose. Yes, she had. And she wasn't done rising yet. 1 year later, the Rise Foundation opened its 5th location. Derek and Celine were now married, quietly, beautifully, surrounded by children, staff, and women whose lives had been rewoven through Celine's mission. Mama Ray walked her down the aisle. Elma was the flower girl. Jaden read a poem about courage. Celine wore a white gown sewn by the very women she had once trained. As she looked into Derek's eyes and said her vows, she knew this marriage was not built on desperation. It was built on choice, respect, and hope. This time, she was not begging anyone to stay. Years passed. Celine's name became a symbol across Nigeria for female empowerment. International organizations requested her presence. Documentaries were made. Yet every week, she still taught 1 class at the original center. The first one I ever cleaned, she'd say with a smile. She kept her children grounded, reminding them to give, to grow, to never mock struggle. And on her office wall, next to the awards and media clippings, was a framed piece of paper, her father's final letter. She read it on hard days. I see you now, and I am proud. She believed it. On her 50th birthday, Celine stood at the edge of a Rise graduation stage, watching 50 women walk proudly to receive their certificates. One of them paused, hugged her, and said, "You gave me back my life." Celine smiled, blinking back tears. "No," she replied. "You found it yourself. I just left the light on." That night, under the stars, Derek placed his arms around her as they looked out over Denton City. "Would you change anything?" he asked. Celine leaned against him. "Not a single thing. Every storm led me here." And with that, the woman who once begged in the market now stood among queens, because she had become one. Like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this, and let us know where you are watching from under the comment section.